Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and we are live at 83weeks.com immediately following WrestleMania Night 2. Joining me, of course, is the host of 83 Weeks, the Hall of Famer himself, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eric Bischoff. Eric, how are you, man?
The crowd goes silent. No, I'm doing good, man. I left Las Vegas yesterday, ended up in Tampa. Got to spend my son Garrett's birthday with him and hang out with his wife and my grandson. And I'm here doing this with you. So it's been a fun weekend.
And how cool is that? We appreciate everybody joining us here right after WrestleMania Night 2. Eric, we're going to be soliciting comments from everyone watching this. What did you guys like the best? What didn't you like? What was your favorite part of WrestleMania? Before we talk about Night 2, Eric, did you get a chance to see Night 1? I know you were traveling. Have you seen any of Night 1 yet?
No, I just saw clips, man. I didn't get in until late last night, and no, haven't had a chance. So this is other than Hall of Fame, this is the first part of WrestleMania I've seen.
Well, the internet is going crazy right now, and the comments are people like Jonathan are saying WrestleMania was awful. Other people like JG are saying Elimination Chamber was WrestleMania. A lot of people are disappointed. I'm seeing Matt Dunkowski saying, what a disappointment. JG saying, hated it. Jojo Rice says, the main event was a letdown. What did you think, Eric? Was the main event a letdown, or did you get what you expected?
You know, I got what I expected in the sense that it was very entertaining. It was a story. It was a good story. It wasn't a great story. We've already talked about this. You know, I kind of gave my initial reaction to the way the story was set up, and it hasn't changed much. Is it a bad story? No. Was it a great story? No. Was it somewhere maybe in the middle? Yeah, it was decent, but it lacked emotion. And I felt that way from the very beginning of this arc. And I felt that all the way through the match. And there's nobody, I mean, I respect the hell out of both Cody and John. And I don't know what to chalk it up to other than perhaps a different version of ring rust for John. There's a feel that comes with doing this really, really well. And we saw some of it tonight. But there's also quite a few examples in general of people who go through the motions and they get the moves in and the timing is great from, one perspective, but it just doesn't create a connection. And I kind of felt that way about this main event. It just didn't connect, and I don't know why.
It is overwhelming, the negative reactions to that main event. I don't necessarily think that they're disappointed that John Cena won either. I think they're disappointed in the actual match itself. I did find myself watching it there for a minute, Eric, and wonder, is this the main event of a TNA pay-per-view in 2005? With the multiple ref bumps, with the long entrance from the celebrity. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much of the wrestling with the belt and then the low blow. It felt like, hey, all we need now is Double J and a couple of broken guitars, and we're in business.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. I don't feel quite that strongly about it, but I understand what you're saying. It you know what threw me off the most? I mean, so much of the match, and I saw this in a women's tag match too. It was overproduced with Becky. It was just overproduced. There was too much going on, and none of it really mattered because it all happened so fast. There was no really I'm talking about the women's tag match with Becky. There was no real selling / emotion. There was no feeling in that match. It was just a series of moves, which, we've all talked about, referenced in different ways. But this was a good example of it in WWE. Happens there too, folks. And it's just is insufficient there as it is anywhere else. And that's why I hate it. I hate that I have to say it. God, I can't think the world of Cody and John. But I have to believe when both those guys watch this match back, they're going to go, we missed it. We missed the mark because that match just didn't create emotion.
Not to be negative, and I'm going to get ethered in the comments for being a homer, but they said it on commentary at the start of the match. John Cena hadn't won a singles match in 7 years, and he hadn't won a WrestleMania match in 10 years. So respectfully, if the show was off tonight, if the match was off tonight, it's probably not the guy who's been working every week. I mean, ring rust is a real thing. We know that. You disagree?
Yeah. I
He's been
don't
making
agree or
it through me.
I don't agree or disagree. I just think that was not a great comment. You don't know. You don't know where that chemistry. You don't know. And guess what? Cody has some responsibility as a world heavyweight champion, as a world champion. He's the guy. He's there full time. That's where you step up and take control. That's where you protect your character. If what you're saying is true, that's no excuse. If what you're saying is that Cody or that match didn't go the way it was supposed to go because John, maybe had some ring rust on him, hadn't been in the saddle for 7 years. One, I disagree with the premise, but let's just assume that your premise is true and you're right. Whose job is it? It's Cody's job. He's the pro. He's there full time. So I hope you're wrong, but if you're right, the responsibility is equal amongst the parties. I just think you heard me say it before. The chemistry wasn't there. I don't think the story was there to begin with. Here's what happens when you start out with a weak premise or a weak inciting incident. If you're a student of Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey, or if you're just a wrestling guy from, somewhere in Tennessee, it's an angle. It's all the same thing. Whatever starts the story has to be important. It has to matter. It has to create emotion initially. It has to create intrigue or anticipation. If you start your story off wrong, it's not going to get better as it goes. If your first few minutes of Act 1 miss the mark, it's not going to get better. And I think that's what happened here. The heel turn was soft. I'm not going to say it's bad, but it was soft. It wasn't compelling. There was nothing there that felt different than a million of the other turns we've seen before. Yes, for all of you people who say I never criticized WWE, please pay attention. That story missed the mark from the get-go, and we talked about it here, and it just hasn't gotten any better. I blame it on lack of heat, lack of a good story.
The point I was trying to get to about John Cena and ring rust is usually on your way to a big match like this, the two guys in the match have had an opportunity to work together, whether it's on house shows or whatever. But now that's all different. And with WWE doing away with house shows and John Cena being off filming, those sort of reps didn't really have an opportunity. As a matter of fact, according to Cage Match, the last time these two guys wrestled in a singles match, believe it or not, it was in Las Vegas, but it was January of 2013. So it's been 12 years since they had a match, and that was a 1:55 Monday Night Raw match. Not quite the same thing. People are pretty fired up in the comments, though. We've had Coach Rosie, who was in the building tonight at WrestleMania, and he says that once they went off the air, the boos reigned in for about a minute straight, and people were sort of lingering around thinking something still might happen. A lot of chants for The Rock. It feels like a lot of people are disappointed that there was no Rock, there was no reveal of the third man. Steve Austin didn't get involved unless you were sitting in the front row. What do you think?
What is you being hard on him tonight, bro?
Well, what did he? I don't mean to be hard. What do you think, Eric? Give me something.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not following the comments. I can't. I don't see well enough at night to be able to follow the comments and talk to you at the same time. So I guess I'm just going by my own impression. Was I disappointed in the main event? Yeah, I was. Do I think the show was bad? Absolutely not. I thought it was a great show. I thought it was an entertaining show. There was a lot of great things to talk about. And yeah, Steve Austin, running into the barricade in his four-wheeler, got some news, and I'm sure there'll be, plenty of memes and comments about that. But it's live TV, man.
I mean, listen, if I'm honest with you, I'm surprised that hadn't happened already. I mean, every time he would make a lap around the ring back in the day, I just thought, man, I don't know that I could steer it like that. And I was always super impressed. I was even making the comment to the crowd I was watching with tonight. Hey, man, he drives these things professionally, and then wham, the unexpected happens.
I was panicking the first time he did it. The risk analysis side of me, the guy that went to some of those meetings. I was like, oh my God, somebody stop him, but make him get off that thing. And then bam, I said, oh no. And then when you see Nick Khan out there, that's like, there's a handful of attorneys, in Las Vegas that are all scrambling to try to find that lady's phone number right now. I guarantee it.
I think what we've both regretted that we haven't said already is we hope no one was hurt. We don't know that anyone was. We hope everyone's just fine. We are live here with Eric Bischoff. If you got a question, keep them coming in here. Jim says, what are your thoughts on Cena winning the championship the 17th time? Also, do you think the championship should have stayed with Cody? Eric, if you were booking tonight, would you have had Cena win, or should Cody have retained?
No, I would have had Cena win. You and I spoke about that going into this. I would have had Cena win, but man, I wanted some heat. There was no heat for me there. That was a paint by numbers finish with paint by numbers heat, and they got some work to do. But to answer your question, I would have had Cena take it with a ridiculous amount of heat, and I would have Cody chase. And it would be the beginning of Cena's redemption story, and Cena would end up being a babyface at the end of it, along with Cody. This was confusing to me.
I don't want to hear anybody bust your balls about Dennis Rodman wrestling ever again either, by the way.
That's the thing. I was going to say that, and I got myself distracted. That was, if there was one thing that really took me out of this match.
Yes.
Like, took me out and you're not getting me back, was when Travis Scott was introduced with an entrance.
Yes.
In the middle of a match.
Yes.
It was almost as if it was designed to take me out of the moment. I am dumbfounded. That was a weird one for me. It was like, wait, what?
It made as much sense to me as Jeff Hardy dancing down the ramp when Matt Hardy's getting beat up and Jeff's coming to make the save. Like, okay, but first, I'm going to dance.
It took forever, as entrances do. And it was like Cody's like selling, like, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. That was all left up.
Ralph the Ace says, guys, the main event was way, way overthought. Travis was the highlight. Cena was fine, but the match layout was not. I think we all agree with you. Hey, Chris, thanks for gifting some memberships today. We greatly appreciate that. AOTV says he'd like to see a Hollywood faction with Rock, Cena, Rollins, and Heyman. Sounds fun to me. Mick Mac says he doesn't think that Travis Scott added anything to the match.
I agree.
We've got Swerve Daddy, who says, I feel the real story begins now. Was it the best match? No. But with John Champ and Cody chasing it, I feel that this should have been night one, and Roman, Seth, and Punk should have been night two. The reactions would have been different. I agree. Your great close personal friend, Dave Meltzer, says, boy, Cena and Cody are going to have their work cut out for them, having a better match than that three-way. Well, I don't think that's even going to be debated. I don't know anymore. Says Cody is only good at spamming his finishing move. Cena wants to make the move legit by getting knocked out flat by it after one. Triple fumbled so hard that it's making Tony blush. Do you consider this year's WrestleMania a fumble, Eric? I mean, they're only going to make $60 million. Is it a fumble?
It's so, I mean, the internet is where you go for the most absurd, insane, usually weird enough to be almost funny. But lately it's knocking on the door of pathetic comments. It's just so ridiculous. I'm sitting here as, I think I'm as objective as one can be. And I'm looking at this product, waiting to do this stream, and I'm thinking, this is not, it's just indescribable how big and how successful and how powerful and ubiquitous this industry has become around the world. And yet, if you go to the internet, you'll find people saying it's horrible, it's the worst. I don't know, man. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed both nights. I enjoyed the whole weekend. I enjoyed being in Vegas for this. It's a little bit, I'm going to get off topic for just a second. Lori and I got into Vegas Wednesday night. We went out and had some sushi for dinner. Thursday, I went to the last match, which, by the way, you and I haven't spoken, I don't think, much since then. The last match we did on Friday morning, but the last match was a rock musical. And I took some video and I posted it because I was so excited. I was sitting, close to the stage, ring, whatever. And I loved the idea, the creativity, the effort, imagination, all the things that went into creating this rock opera for wrestling. And of course, you post it because I was supporting it. I want people to see it. And, it's nothing but hate comments and negative stuff. And it's like, okay, I get it. My video probably wasn't that impressive because it's not the same as being there. But my point is, just generally, people want to be so negative for the sake of being negative. Now, I can be pretty negative. I can be pretty critical, but I have a basis for it. I'll give you a reason for it. You may not agree with it, but I'm not critical for the sake of being critical just to get attention. And that's so much of what I'm seeing on the internet is, not just with regard to tonight, but just in general. It's just mind-boggling.
We got a question here from Eric, who says, "Hi guys from St. Cloud, Minnesota. Where does Mr. Bischoff think WWE is going to go now with Jay Uso as world champ? What would you do next with Jay Uso now that he has defeated Gunther and he's the world champ? Would you do rematches with Gunther? Would you move to a different direction? Maybe Randy Orton or Drew McIntyre or LA Knight? What would you do?"
I don't know, but before we go any further, I want to point out that I did my freshman year of college at St. Cloud State University. I lived in Hill Case. I think I lived in Hill Hall. It was Hill Case. Case was the woman's side. Hill was the men's side. I snuck back and forth a lot, to be honest. But yeah, St. Cloud, Minnesota. Freshman year of college. Had a lot of fun there. What would I do? Man, I don't know. You've got so much to work with the bloodline, a whole generation of Samoans to work with and to create story with. I don't know. It's not something I can just pull out of my hat. I really have to sit down and think about it. But there's a lot there.
Coach T says, "Do you think The Rock hurt the main event? Last year, he was part of the story through Mania. This year, he built up expectations at Elimination Chamber only to no-show. I do think a lot of fans were disappointed that The Rock wasn't there tonight, just based on the way the whole Cody John Cena thing started with the big Cena heel turn. Was that a missed opportunity to not have Rock there? I mean, obviously, we know his schedule permits what it permits, but I think fans are disappointed because The Rock wasn't involved."
I get that. It's not that I was disappointed, but I found it odd. Don't start something you can't finish, especially with somebody like The Rock. So if you're going to start a story with The Rock, even if he's just adjacent to the story, at the very least, have him check in along the way. This was a little weird. I think it was just one more thing. There was no one thing other than Travis Scott, the way that was used. That was bad. That's all. It was just bad. But other than that, nothing else was bad. It just wasn't really spectacular, and everybody expected spectacular or something special at the very least. And to have Rock, like I said, be a part of the inciting incident. It's your lesson for today, folks. We keep dragging you back to it till you figure it out. To have Rock involved in the beginning of that story and then just have him evaporate and not surprise everybody at the end, they would have been better off not involving him. They would have been better off having that story be clean and having John. That's the problem, is there's no motivation. Why did John turn? Does it? And now I'm saying this, I mean this is a real question. I'm not being a smart ass or trying to sound like I know what I'm talking about, because I really don't care what people think about that anymore. But usually when you start a story, there's a why. What's the motivation? Why did that guy rob a bank? Why did that guy save the bank from the bank robber? Why? There's always a freaking why somewhere. Why did John Cena turn heel? And I know what the interviews were, and they were okay. They were serviceable. But they didn't explain why. Like, that's the part. And like I said, when you start on something like that, especially something where you turn somebody like John Cena heel, everybody's expectations are going to be so high that when it happens, if you don't meet those expectations, it feels like a failure, though it's not. It's still very successful, but it feels less than you wanted it to feel. And I think that sums it all up. But it wasn't one thing. It was a lot of little things. I think it was starting out with The Rock, not having The Rock. I think it was not having a motivation for Cena, something that was relatable, that the audience could, in this case, strongly disagree with from a John Cena perspective. They didn't have any of that. It was just a turn. It was like from a factory. Yeah, it was a factory turn. Standard, just And not having Rock there just made it a little bit more impotent, if that's the right word. It just didn't matter.
Alex Cosentino says Travis took 3 years to get to the ring. John looked arthritic, and Cody never got to deliver like he should have. Also, Rick is a 20-time champ too. Everybody wants to know about this new Perth show in October, including Jim. Clearly, we know John Cena is going to be involved there. AOTV Productions wants you to talk about the Hall of Fame. I don't know that you saw on Friday night, but Cody Rhodes kind of gave us a shout out where part of his digs on John Cena was, "Hey, you're paler than Sting at Starrcade 97. I thought that was a fun little tongue-in-cheek shout out for you and I.
I'm the gift that keeps on giving.
David is asking, did Travis Scott impress us? I think we've already talked about that. Ray J's World points out that Joe Hendry showed up at Mania because we believed. TNA wins again. I don't know about that, Eric. He's their TNA World Champion, and he got squashed tonight. I know it's Randy Orton, but what'd you think of that?
From a purely wrestling fan point of view, I'd be pissed. But from a business point of view, if I worked at Anthem, which owns TNA, I'd be really excited.
Yeah.
So it depends on your perspective. Mine is, it was nothing but a good thing. But if you're a hardcore wrestling fan who has been convinced because you read the dirt sheets that you know more about the wrestling business than the people that are actually in the business, then you hate it. But if you're actually a business person who has to balance a financial report at the end of every quarter, you love this.
William is pointing out that since the titles were split, maybe that means Cena is an 18-time champion. I don't know about that. Dustin says, I typically hate triple threat matches, but the two triples were incredible. Both Io and Seth winning were the right call to, in my opinion. Great storytelling. Yeah, I think that was probably my favorite match of the night was the ladies 3-way to open. Did you get a chance to see that one, Eric?
Tonight, mean with Io?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I called it. Oh, I called it. I actually went on X and I said, based on what I'm seeing, Io's going to win it. And about 3 minutes later, she won it. And I texted, told you. Because I could see the flow of the match. I could see, I always talk about patterns and dots. And I was watching that match and I was like, okay, I know where this one's going. And boom, 3 minutes later, it happened. So I did the same thing with the Drew match. Like, I was 2 for 2 tonight. Calling them live, too, like in the moment.
Josh Inney says, let's be honest, everyone complaining tonight will watch tomorrow and next year's WrestleMania. What say you, Eric?
Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of people watch and they jump online just so they get attention. They want to get somebody to react to whatever they say. And that's what this is all about, right? That's what social media is all about. It's your social connection. And you do things and you say things to get more attention. So sure, it'll go back and forth. You have half the people will be defending it and half the people will be hating it. And that's how it works, unfortunately. Well, or fortunately, usually it can be entertaining from time to time.
Ric Flair sent a tweet out 29 minutes ago with a photo of him and John Cena from back in the day backstage. And he wrote, congrats to my great friend John Cena on becoming a 17-time champion. It was only a matter of time. You and Cody Rhodes put on an instant classic. Much respect. Woo. I don't know if it was a classic, but he is a 17-time world champion. Lots of comments like this one. Kodiak Bear says, main event of day one, Dominic and the women's match were the best. Tonight's main event was god-awful. Bottom 10 WrestleMania overall. Eric, you haven't seen all the WrestleManias, but you've seen a bunch of them. I know revenue-wise, this is number one all time. I know most people seeing it and most eyeballs and most social and every sort of conceivable record will be shattered tonight at WrestleMania. But critically, what do you think? Will this wind up being one of the bottom 10 WrestleManias, Eric?
I don't know. I just don't think of them that way, Conrad. I watch something and I either really enjoy it or I really don't. And usually if I don't enjoy it, I stop watching it early. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the entire weekend. I didn't see night one. Obviously, I was traveling. I was in the air. But I saw clips of it, a lot of it today. I went back and watched to help get ready for tonight. I don't know, man. I just thought this is an amazing weekend. I don't know. I enjoyed it. That's all I can say. I enjoyed the whole weekend.
Stephen Tate says, how pissed off is Vince watching how horrible the booking was for this year's WrestleMania? Okay, let me phrase it differently. Eric, this will be our final question tonight. What do you think Vince thought of tonight's WrestleMania? This is really the first WrestleMania where he had no involvement. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, he wasn't around for last year's WrestleMania. And that's true. But that all changed the week of the Royal Rumble when it was official. Like, he's out and he ain't ever coming back. So by the Royal Rumble, they had some of these things arranged and lined up. Tonight is really the first ever Vince McMahon-less WrestleMania where there were no fingerprints. What do you think he thought watching tonight's WrestleMania?
That presumes I know Vince well enough to kind of get inside of his head, which I don't. So let me preface what I'm about to say by that. My perception and what I've been told about Vince would suggest to me that he hated the Joe Hendry spot. He hated all the sponsorship. By the way, that show went off the air and I wanted to go order some drumsticks, the ice cream.
Yep.
I kept hearing that spot over and over and over again. Like, I don't know who knows who from drumsticks and WWE, but somebody's got a relationship because they were selling the hell out of drumsticks. I'm still hungry. I think that, the sponsorship, the mentions would be a distraction for Vince. That was obviously a thing for him. And this is a guy who goes nuts when he sneezes in public because it represents to him a lack of self-control and discipline. So for a guy who's wired that way to then see as much commercialization and product placement within his show that he hated probably drove him batshit crazy. I can't imagine the Travis Scott interrupt segment or portion of that match was something that I just can't imagine that would fly. I actually, the visual of what that meeting might look like when somebody pitched that to Vince that's in my head right now is really fun. I'll think about it after we get done here. But yeah, those are the things that I think he would find irritating.
One of the things I think Vince would have been really shocked by is what they allowed a fan to do. This actually caught a little bit of attention on social media today. I don't know if you've seen this, Eric, but there is a lot of chatter online about a particular fan who is front row for every WWE pay-per-view. He's known as the green shirt guy. Have you heard of this before?
Yeah, I've seen it in socials.
Okay, so you've probably seen the photos that went up where it showed him sitting near the ring announce position and even coming down the ramp. So he was inside the barricade yesterday, and then today actually got to walk down the ramp. And I've seen a lot of people speculating that, oh, well, he clearly works for WWE or some such nonsense. None of that is true, Eric. This was a paid opportunity. WWE got paid to let him do that.
So that guy's probably going to be selling those green T-shirts online soon. Like you're going to be reading. It's like he's going to be number 2 and knocking on the door for Mr. Beast, right? It's so wild what people are willing to do to try to get themselves over. It's kind of awesome. It's fun to watch,
especially when you know that it was 6 figures, Eric.
What?
Yeah, well into the 6 figures is the number.
So okay, let me run this by me again because it's late, man. I was up till 2:00 in the morning night before last. I'm in bed every freaking night.
Wait, hang on. Friday night, did you fall asleep during the Hall of Fame? Tell the truth.
Just for a minute.
I love it.
I wasn't sleeping. I was, as my dad
resting
used to
your
say,
eyes.
I'm just relaxing my eyes.
Oh, that's right.
It didn't get long, but go ahead. Never mind.
No, that's it. We've had a lot of fun with WrestleMania. I can't wait for Eric and I to talk about the Monday after WrestleMania. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications bell. We go live each and every week when we're doing our show, and you can be a part of our live studio audience. You really do get to interact with the Hall of Famer, Eric Bischoff, and we'll be coming at you this Friday. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, 83weeks.com, turn on your notifications bell. Eric, people are sort of giving mixed opinions about the main event, saying it perhaps ruined it. Let's do it old school. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. What say you, Eric?
Thumbs in the middle. I mean, I just hate saying it, but I'm struggling with thumbs in the middle, to be honest. I was really disappointed in that one. And again, it's just, it's the little things, man. I could go off on this. It's just the little details matter so much. And I just feel like this one was slapped together and not a lot of thought to the little details. Just my vibe.
But a boatload of cash, and controversy creates cash, and it feels like we've got a controversy of our own. The internet's going to be a buzz about John Cena tomorrow, and Eric and I are going to break it down, the good, bad, and the ugly, this week on 83weeks.com.